Welcome to week 8 of the pro football season. We are okay. Weird things are happening in our studio. Weird things are happening in football too. Beat the Odds starts right now.
From our Las Vegas studios, this is Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome to Beat the Odds, and welcome inside our creepy Las Vegas studio. I'm your ghost. I'm your host, Dave Hall. Came in handy, actually. Happy Halloween, everybody. You know, sports betting is a lot like trick-or-treating. Sometimes your bucket is full of goodies, and sometimes you get chased down by a guy with a chainsaw. Let's try to avoid that one. Coming up on today's show, Jack and Teddy will break down the scary teams to bet on right now, and there are definitely a lot of those. Brandon Marshall will talk about the scariest things he's seen on a football field. Plus, Mariah has some trivia that might scare some of you guys as well. Guys, it looks like we have our studio lighting back. Thank goodness.
That was close, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's scary is you guys wearing matching outfits. You coordinating before the show and not telling me?
We're thinking about joining an a cappella group after this. We thought, well, we could go as a team. Neither of us can sing.
Backstreet Boys are in sync.
Just the oldies. The oldies with the goodies. You're going to be our lead singer.
I hope not.
Happy Halloween, though, right?
Yeah.
Scary things and full-size candy bars. That's the deal this week, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the theme this week. We're going to have some fun with Halloween, obviously. So the focus is scary, and you have some scary things that scare you.
There
Jeff.
are, yeah. I mean, not just in football, but in life. I mean, it starts, I lost 100 pounds. I used to, buffets. I mean, used to be my best friend. Now, literally, buffets are like sending an alcoholic to a liquor store. You don't want to do that. I go in, I see the chocolate fountain, my day is over. And the other thing that gets me are indoor playgrounds. When you go to places like Chuck E. Cheese, kids, you don't want to swim in that.
Yeah.
Those ball pits, people oozing everywhere, I mean, just make me a little bit nervous. So not only on the football field, you can get a little bit scared, but also in life.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see you got Myles Garrett there as the Grim Reaper, something that scares you. Now, this is what Jack is referencing. You may recall last year, this tweet was sent out. That is Myles Garrett, of course, the Cleveland great football player. On his cape there are all the quarterbacks he has sacked in his career. And as you can see, there's a lot. He's a very good football player. So that's something I think quarterbacks are also very scared of, Jack.
Yeah, it's funny how people take what they have done and put it on their shirts and act like it's something special. So I'm thinking that's where we're going to end up, right?
All right, you had one more thing that you were scared of.
Yeah, teams that the public bet 80% of the tickets on.
Something that actually has to do with football.
Football, exactly.
Okay,
we're narrowing it down to what the show's about, which is trying to make money betting these games. And getting out in front of the public has been tough this year for a lot of people, but when 9 out of 10 guys line up on one side, that can be a very scary situation.
All right, let's bring in Teddy. Teddy, what's scarier to you, Jack in Lederhosen or betting some of these teams out there right now?
Well, for as scary as Jack and Lederhosen might be right now, the scary thing for me is football teams at the pro level. Look, in particular, I'm concerned. I'm scared to bet favorites with a bad defense. Why? They get the lead, but they can't hold the lead. Teams like Minnesota or Tennessee or Seattle, all of whom pretty good teams, dicey defensively. And then, of course, the other end of the equation, dogs with a bad offense. They fall behind by 2 scores. These teams are in big trouble. Teams like Pittsburgh or Sean McVay's boys in LA or Denver, all of whom struggling offensively right now. I don't want these teams as dogs. The inconsistent teams might be the scariest of all because you don't know what you're going to get in any given week. Teams like the Bolts or San Fran all stand out. And, of course, maybe the most important point of all, we can expect that at the end of the year, most of these teams are going to be pretty close to 500 against the spread. Last year, only 3 teams finished better than 10-7. Against the spread, and only 5 teams finished worse than 7-10 against the spread. Most teams revert to the mean.
Yeah. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Jack, you went to London for us, covered the games there. Now, I mentioned the Lederhosen for a reason because you're also going on a little road trip here in a couple of weeks, right?
Absolutely, yeah, heading to Munich. And
Nice.
going to watch a few of these teams that we talk about a lot being inconsistent. Tampa's playing Seattle, so it ought to be an interesting game. We're going to bring you all the insights and sounds of Germany, a little bit like we did in London. It should be a great trip.
Teddy, can you set the over-under on whether or not Jack will, in fact, wear Lederhosen on that trip?
So the yes is minus 350 on wearing Lederhosen at least once. But Lederhosen the entire trip, maybe we'll make it plus 200.
Going to be chilly, so we might go topless too.
Your wife might have something to say about that. All right, thanks, fellas. We'll get back to the boys in a little bit. First, believe it or not, Las Vegas bookmakers can get freaked out too. Our Mariah Janos is inside the Superbook, Westgate, Las Vegas.
Thanks, Dave. I am here with Executive Director of Superbook Operations here at Westgate, John Murray. John, we got a little Halloween edition going this week, so I want to start things off with, what is the scariest thing that can happen to a book?
It's got to be to have big liability on a parlay bet or a futures bet. I know some of our colleagues have big liability on Houston. The World Series starts on Friday. Luckily, the Superbook, we managed to avoid that liability.
Now, looking at these Week 8 matchups, what is a team this week that is the most frightening to bet on, but it could be worth it?
Scariest team to bet on right now, I'm going to go with Denver. They're 2-5. Their coach, Nathaniel Hackett, is on the hot seat, to say the least. Russell Wilson, I heard he's back. I heard he was doing knee highs on the airplane. I don't know how that's relevant, but I heard he's playing on Sunday morning against Jacksonville in London, kind of like Denver in that spot.
Sticking with this week's matchups, what is the spookiest game to bet on this week?
I'll go to Sunday Night Football, Green Bay at Buffalo. Green Bay is playing a Buffalo team off their bye week. They just beat the Chiefs. They're the best team in the league. And Green Bay really needs a win. They've lost several games in a row. Their own playoffs lives are at stake here. Green Bay, very spooky matchup in Buffalo.
You think they can pull it off?
I don't think so. I don't know, but maybe they can cover the spread, and that's why gambling is so great. Two teams that are separated by a lot right now. That point spread is the great equalizer.
Yes, way to spin it there. I like it. I like it. All right, we'll send it back to you in studio, Dave.
Thanks, Mariah. Now, you know what's truly scary? Trying to tackle some of these guys that play football. Marshawn Lynch, Derrick Henry, Brandon Marshall, you spent years doing it with Denver. Yeah. Who's the scariest guy? He's coming through the hole. You got to take him down.
Marshawn Lynch, hands down. The guy's a load. He's a tank. He never stops his legs. So it's tough, man. We had some good battles over the years. He's gotten me. I've gotten him, but he's a beast.
And you said you got a safety on him one time.
Yeah, I got a safety on him when he was playing with Seattle, man. I got a safety. That was one of my proud moments. Like, yo, I drove Marshawn Lynch back, and we got a safety.
You out-beasted the beast mode.
Absolutely.
All right, now, look, you know, we've kind of got a scary theme for today's show, and you've had some scary injuries over the years. Walk us through a couple.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of them was, probably 2014, we were playing San Diego, and I made a tackle, and an offensive lineman just rolled into my foot, and my foot popped. And it was a scary moment because I didn't know what happened, but I ended up leaving the game. I was having a good season, probably had around 113 tackles that year, and then my season got cut short, but I did return for the playoffs, though.
Nice.
Yeah. But one of the more,
the finger.
The finger. This, as you can see, is very crooked. I got a good story about it. You know, we were playing Kansas City.
Oh, it's a good story.
It's a good story. It's good and bad, right? We were playing Kansas City, in Kansas City, and we were losing, right? We were losing. That's when they had Jamal Charles. They were playing really well. We ended up coming back. 2 minutes left in the game. It's a tie game. They decided to run the ball. I tackled Jamal Charles. I forced a fumble.
Nice.
Bradley Roby picks it up, returns it for a touchdown. We win the game. I get up, and then my finger is down, my joint is down at the bottom, right? So I'm like, oh, what's going on? So I run to the sideline, and my finger was all messed up, so they had to put it back in place. But for the next few games, I kept popping out of socket. So I've had 4 surgeries on this thing. Scary. It's a scary sight.
It looks like something you throw on the grill. All right, real quick, let's talk about a scary defense. A defense that has played great really all season.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas. You know, right now they're number 1 in sacks. They have 29 sacks on the season. You know, Micah Parsons has 7 of those. You know, they got DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs. You know, those guys are playing out of their minds right there. You know, I think they're +6 in the turnover differential. So those guys are playing out of their minds.
All right, Brandon Marshall, thanks for the health report. The life of a football player. Well, Fat Jack was hoping to dress up as one of the cops from Reno 911, the one with the really tight shorts. Thankfully, HR said no on that one. But Jack is back with things that scare him away from betting a game, including a coach to avoid.
Beat the Odds is sponsored by Superbook Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, before we head to break, factoid time. Kenny Pickett has thrown 7 interceptions in his first 4 games. Who's the only other Pittsburgh rookie quarterback to throw 5+ picks in his first 4 games? The answer, Terry Bradshaw. Bradshaw ended up very okay, winning 4 rings and going into the Hall of Fame. Beat the Odds Factoids is brought to you by Fanatics. We'll be right back.
Let's show the world what it means to be a fan. The world's largest collection of fan gear. Fanatics, officially licensed everything.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BeatTheOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
BeatTheOddsTV.com.
Welcome back to Beat the Odds. Get this, Seattle's Kenneth Walker hit 22 miles per hour on his touchdown run last week, the fastest speed recorded this year. Who clocked the fastest speed ever on the field? The answer, none other than the cheetah, Tyreek Hill, at over 23 miles per hour. Tyreek hit that blazing speed back in 2016 while returning a kickoff against Houston.
Thanks, Mariah. Here's a Nevada fun fact. You're looking at one of the most haunted hotels in America. The Mizpah Hotel is about 3 hours from Vegas in an old mining town called Tonopah. Freaky things happen in there, and I know because I stayed there one night. That's me. I didn't sleep very much. Well, this ain't scary at all. Just scan that QR code there. It will take you to our website, BeatTheOddsTV.com. Let's bring back Big Guy Fat Jack. You do a lot of traveling, Jack. Any good ghost stories out on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I live in fear every day. Every morning I wake up, get out of the shower, look in the mirror, and realize this is all I've got. This is it. I mean, that is a scary thought every single morning we have to work through. And some of these different teams have to work through different things also.
Okay.
We're looking for things that maybe there's information that's not baked into the line. So officials that maybe officiate differently, calling more quarterback penalties on that, pass interference penalties, and then also things like analytics. And when we talk about analytics, these are things that they're new things within the league, and I think they apply. They really are better when you have a better team.
And I see you have Brandon Staley. He's one of those coaches you hear a lot about, going for a lot of fourth downs, going for a lot of two-point conversions.
Yeah, I think it's good to point out these spots that when they don't have as good a team, those things don't work near as much. I'm okay with you going for it on 4th and 1 from your own 25 when you have a good offensive line. When you don't, it's going to generate points and opportunities for your opponent. So we got to be careful on betting on teams that we know they're going to look at analytics, even if the flow of the game hasn't dictated to do so.
Gotcha. You also listed Doug Peterson there. Is he another one of those coaches?
I think he's the criminal number one. I mean, this guy, even when he was at Philly, they basically ran him out of town. He was down 9 and went for 2 to try to, I guess, get to 7. When it became a 2-score game, he did a lot of those things late in his career that basically they said enough was enough. At Jacksonville, we've seen a little bit of that, going for 2 after scoring the first time. Be careful on coaches that you know when they're down are going to go for it in their own end of the field, because that can create points for the other team.
All right. Thank you, Jack, for the information and the visual that you have every morning. Betting on an app versus betting at the window. A lot of people wonder which one's better. Mariah Janos will talk about the difference and what you need to know.
Here's another question to ponder. Which team's nickname was inspired by a poem? The answer, Baltimore. Edgar Allan Poe's horror poem, The Raven, inspired the team nickname. Poe died mysteriously in Baltimore at age 40. Spooky. Beat the Odds will continue next.
The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Legendary. Vegas. Fun. Enjoy Westgate's classic gaming and entertainment. Savor fine dining. And experience the world's largest sportsbook, Westgate Superbook. It's all at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino.
Welcome back. What has been the most haunting loss on Halloween? Our pick is Cincinnati losing to Miami in 2013. Tied in overtime, Cincy's Andy Dalton, we all know him, dropped back to pass from the 8-yard line only to be sacked for a game-winning safety. It was a weird and wonderful walk-off for Miami and a haunting loss for Cincinnati. Welcome to my lair. I love it in here. Today we're going to be talking about betting online versus betting in person at the book. There are different perks to each side and different ways to approach your wagering. Let's start with sports betting apps. Technology is a wonderful thing sometimes, and apps make it so easy to do. There's a major convenience factor that cannot be ignored. If you're a first-time customer, online books often have sign-up bonuses that can include hundreds of dollars in free bets, which is pretty awesome. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can there possibly be a downside to betting apps? That whole thing about convenience, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You let the emotions get the best of you in making wagers that you maybe haven't completely thought through, and it's an impulsive decision that could really cost you, quite literally. As for kicking it old school, going to the actual book, getting in line and placing a wager at the window, I know, for us millennials, that sounds so exhausting, and it's probably the spookiest thing we can do. But there are some serious benefits, like the ability to ask any questions you could possibly have. That slower process of getting in line to place a bet actually helps you because you've got more time to really think about the wager and if it makes sense. There's also something to be said for seeing the physical cash leave your hand. It's just a little bit more painful, but again, it makes you really think twice before going through with your bet. But the biggest perk of betting in person? Free drinks. I mean, come on, hydration is key. But in all seriousness, whether you're betting in person or online, it really just comes down to preference, Dave.
Mariah, you crush it. The free drinks, it really is what sends it over the top. I'm old school. I like going inside the casinos and betting there. What about you, Teddy?
Even if you're just drinking a bottle of water.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
She's right. You got to hydrate, whether it's water or something else. All right, so every week, we kind of have a betting theme. This week, we're having some fun with Halloween and scary stuff. But some of the betting things you and Fat Jack have talked about, we're starting to see come out to play.
Sure. We wanted to revisit some of the themes we've talked about over the course of the season, and one of them in particular stands out. We said it at the beginning of the month. Joes can win in October. Pros sometimes struggle this time of year, and certainly we've seen that all month. Last week you talked to any of the sports book directors in town. Wasn't a great weekend for the books, and that tells us that many of the popular public teams continue to win and cover week in and week out. And of course, there's an example of maybe an opportunity for that this week when Las Vegas takes on New Orleans. Las Vegas looked good last week.
Yeah, they did.
New Orleans is in free fall right now. Vegas may be a public team, but they're the better of these two teams. They deserve to be in a position where they can win the ball game, and the point spread is telling us.
Well, people who live here will like hearing that, Teddy.
Sure. And that's, there's another thing that we wanted to revisit right now when we talk about surprise teams. And surprise teams, we talked about this last week, they tend to stay bet on or bet against until proven otherwise. What do we have for the surprise teams? Let's see. Both New York teams won and covered again last week, and lots of sharp money against them. The pros are getting these teams wrong right now, and the Joes are seeing it clearly. So the surprise team continue. And of course, Tampa Bay, Green Bay both lost again last week. So we're seeing the surprise teams continue to surprise until proven otherwise, as we predicted earlier in the season.
Another thing you guys predicted, Philadelphia would be a team to watch out for, and obviously crushed that, the only undefeated team in the league right now.
Sure, so far so good.
Yes.
If you have Eagles futures in your pockets, like many of us do.
All right, thank you, Teddy. As always, we save the best for last. Teddy and Jack's top picks, plus our wheel of keeping it real. See whose head it's going to land on and what the wheel will reveal.
In 1925, Tim Mara bought the New York G-Men squad for $500. How much is it worth now? The answer, as of last year, the franchise, which is owned by the Mara and Tisch families, is valued at $4.85 billion. It's a little bit more than 500. Beat the odds. We'll be right back.
Coming at you from Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world.
You love our show. Now you can get even more from BeatTheOddsTV.com. Betting lines, trends, and analysis of the big games.
The difference between a bad beat and a big win.
The interviews, the stories, plus a unique spin on sports history. Your ticket to in-depth content as seen on the show is all at BeatTheOddsTV.com. Check it out today.
Welcome back to Beat the Odds inside our Las Vegas studios. In 1965, Gale Sayers set a record for most touchdowns scored in a rookie season. How many did he have? The answer, 22, a record the Kansas Comet still holds to this day.
Hey, you know, Fat Jack has a record he's proud of as well, chowing down the most plates of crab legs at a Vegas buffet. Congrats, Jack.
Well, I think I'm 5th in Ding Dongs also.
Wow.
So.
All right. So to gorge yourself on betting information, scan that QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our website, beattheoddstv.com. Teddy, you got any records you want to pass along while we're at it?
This is my record. Most time standing around watching you guys kibitz.
All right. Well, it is top pick time. Jack, get us started.
Yeah, you know, normally this time of year, I like to find teams with really good defenses and bad offenses and play under. Teams like Tampa, Denver, Indy, all are 3-18 against the spread to the under. But I feel like it was too scary to do that over Halloween. So let's go with a team. I like teams that are zigging when they should be zagging. Kansas City, we thought might be dead when they played Buffalo and looked bad. They go up and they get it done. We talked about that last week. That was Teddy's play of the week. I like San Francisco to rebound after a bad performance. They go to Los Angeles. Garoppolo, 14-7 straight up as a starter. Also, they've covered 5 in a row against LA, so I like San Francisco minus the points.
All right, Teddy, what about you?
Oh, let's go to London for this one and take a look at Jacksonville versus Denver. Look, Jacksonville acclimated to playing on the other side of the pond. Denver, not so much in that regard. Jacksonville, 1 play away from victory each of the last 2 weeks. This isn't a bottom feeder. Again, Denver, not so much in that regard. Let Russ cook. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe Brett Ripien will play. I don't think it matters all that much. You know, we're talking about 2 mediocre quarterbacks at this stage and a bad offensive line and an offense that isn't working. I think Jacksonville takes care of business in early start action on Sunday.
And even if Russ does play, he might be tired from doing all those squats in the airplane for 4 hours. Like
and the travel does matter. Teams are doing a much better job than others at preparing for that game.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, walking up and down the aisles for 4 hours.
That's
doing
what
those
I'm
legs.
saying, yeah.
All of his teammates trying to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, that's
They're
not
gonna be
great
exhausted.
for chemistry.
All right, now it's time for the wheel. Keeping it real, our 5 heads spinning like a Vegas slot machine. Whoever it lands on must reveal, so let's spin it. Here we go. Let's see that wheel.
Big money, big money.
Big money, and the winner is...
There we go.
Finally! All right, I got a bet. I got a player prop. The big Green Bay Buffalo game, Josh Allen, 275 yards passing. I'm going under. Green Bay's going to try to run the ball a lot, play a little keep away.
A little wishbone in the third quarter.
Maybe. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.